ensuring future projects are handled appropriately based on your past experience.
I'm not saying put it off, but I'm saying could we work simultaneously? So
Yeah, of
that
course we can.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
she come in, it's a list upon, we are provided a list of projects that's going on in the city. Were they up to date with the codes? Did they meet this and all those kind of things,
Legally-
as well as moving forward?
Legally, y'all can do that, but I have to defer to the mayor as to whether or not.
Let me share this. Council voted to utilize Bureau Veritas pending finding out how much the costs were. The costs are in front of you now. You said to utilize them a couple of months ago or so, 6 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever it was. The costs are in front of you. The accountant, Mr. Johnson, has said we have at least $10,000 or a couple of months of that. I move that council approve utilizing Bureau Veritas for 2 months as building official that was previously approved. And I'll try to work with Bureau Veritas to see if we can do it on a month-to-month basis.
We have to make.
No, hold on. No, read Robert's rules. I've got every right up here that you have, except voting in case of a tie.
You can ask.
No, I make motions. Read Robert's rules. Where y'all been?
Attorney, could he make the motion?
He's
You
not a
never read that.
parliamentarian, and I am.
All right, just allow us to make the motion, that's all I'm asking.
No, but wait a
You
minute.
can't make the
When
motion.
I have the floor, I can make a motion, and if we're going to do business, Counselor, I'll bring it to you next time.
Okay, thank
Please
you.
put Robert's rules,
Here you go, right here.
Mayor making a motion.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Mayor.
Unless, in the bylaw says, the non-voting member cannot make a motion.
No, and I can vote. I can vote.
No, you can't.
I vote in case of a tie.
That's the only way.
That means a
That's not a
voting
full,
member.
you're not a voting member. It's in our charter, but Mr.
Listen,
Mayor-
guys, will one of you make the motion? We're going through all this.
But that's why I asked you permission to do, sir.
Go, make the motion. Because y'all been talking around it and y'all don't say anything.
No, we ain't trying to fight you, we just trying to work together.
Okay,
But,
go ahead,
alright,
Councilman Jones.
So, I move that, we transfer the funds over, from engineer to a building official for the next 2 months.
I don't know if we can do that. That's a budget amendment, correct? That has to be an item on its own. Attorney said,
If y'all will approve executing the agreement with Bureau Veritas, conditioned upon the city attorney ensuring that it's terminable on 10 days' notice, which I can do, then I'm assuming that a budget amendment can be brought forward for the next meeting for y'all to approve.
right, so just vote to approve the contract.
Was your motion on?
So I move that we approve the contract for the next 2 months upon the
That's good.
council providing a list of plans in which they would like for Via Veritas to review. I have a friendly amendment.
No, we don't have a second first.
Second,
Okay. Go ahead.
not, well, the council, we can provide projects, but it's the mayor's responsibility to give us, because he knows and his departments knows what current projects are moving forward. So we want the mayor to describe all the developments or things that Bureau Veritas will be doing, because he's gonna have to identify that to them anyway. So we allow the mayor to identify if it's 30 projects, and then council may have 2 projects that may be on it or 2 projects that may not be on it, and we look at it that way. But we don't want, because we don't see the 30 projects that are in existence, and so we would want the mayor to lead as far as identifying what projects are in the pipeline. But the amendment, the friendly amendment was to also include the mayor providing a list to the city council.
So,
You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Question, I have
Unready?
yeah, I have unreadiness. So we're saying that we're gonna use the money from engineering that will be approved at the next budget meeting based upon a list that the mayor is gonna provide to us and council will add to, that's gonna be at the next city council meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Call for the question.
I said, I've heard it. Do we need to specify what the list is?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
You already did.
Because you just said, when you made the amendment, it just said that the mayor provide a list and for the record.
The amendment was for the mayor to provide the list in addition to council adding the projects that they wanted as well
Provide a list of projects in the city.
in the city.
All right, just for the record.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed have the same right? Ayes have it. Discuss and take action on selection of Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Wallace.
Yes, and the city charter, Article 3, Section 2, talks about after every election, that city council should designate a mayor pro temp, and then in ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provision, Section 1.508, presiding officer, elections and duties, it talks about electing the mayor pro temp based on seniority. So I move that we appoint Brian Rowland as mayor pro temp.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that Councilman Rowland be appointed as Mayor Pro Tem. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions.
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right? Ayes have it. Discussion and possible action extending USW contract. I mentioned earlier in the mayor's report about the state TCEQ concerns. Well, evidently the city has been functioning in a manner that wasn't quite covered as it should be. Because the city employees do not have the requisite water and particularly sewer licenses, the state is, we were informed by the state that our folks had to report to licensed individuals. And USW was there. You're looking at a temporary extension of agreement for utility services while we finalize all the particulars. And in a sense, what we're looking at, for those of you that are aware, the city has a precedence because they did it with Severn Trent, enrolling our city employees under Severn Trent, and they basically still did the city work, but they reported to Severn Trent, who had the requisite licenses. You have the temporary extension of agreement for utility services, and we need council to take action on that this evening.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Rowland.
Like we just had a conversation about engineering and building services. Public Works has also been a conversation. And this extension allows us the ability to kind of try to rectify that situation. The city has always used a third party and used their licensing. The question, not only in this temporary lease agreement that will extend it for 60 days, correct? Is there a fee or anything in addition to extending this? Because I know we're in a temporary, because we're supposed to be either opening it up or receiving a full proposal based upon the different options that your company offers. So can you, outside of just, you know, for full disclosure, we're supposed to be communicating what's going on. And just this one-page document just gives us an extension, but where are we at currently in our process? I would, if the mayor or Mr. Corey could communicate where are we at and kind of like next steps moving forward. This extension just gives us the ability to do just like business as usual. And right now, you know, our public works director is the mayor. And that's another position we need to think heavily about getting, which is a public works director, which will alleviate the mayor's having to focus on all these things. But again, there's some budget concerns, JJ, and we need you to start thinking about those things as we prepare for the budget. But these concerns have always been here. We've hired some public works people temporarily on an emergency contract, on an emergency provision. We need to see how those people align in where we're moving with public works. So, two questions. Mr. Corey, can you tell us, or I mean, Mr. Mayor or Mr. Corey, can you tell us, this extension just gives us the ability to move forward with our current emergency contract and allows us to extend, before we actually, I don't know if we said we weren't gonna go into the RFP, I don't remember, but,
No, you're not.
so we're gonna go back to service with them. But can you tell us where we're at, but also with Public Works, what are the things that we need to do to make sure that what happened with TCEQ, that we shore up our departments?
Let me start. What happened with TCEQ is standard. We simply had a broken pipe and residents affected, potentially affected by it while it's being tested are required to be informed. That's standard with any city, and it was just a broken pipe, wasn't anything the city did, and TCEQ understood that. And we did what we were supposed to do. Right now, for all practical purposes, as I shared earlier, the mayor is not the director of public works. The mayor does not have those requisite water and sewer licenses. The stuff that we've been doing in the past has been ill-advised. A part of going over with this is to roll our employees as they were under Severn Trent previously under USW, reporting to USW. I'll be working with them, but they're the ones that are knowledgeable to make those decisions and advise our folks on those water repairs and things that we've been doing a great job in-house, but because our folks do not have the licenses, we are essentially under Public Works, under USW, and that was to, then that helped stave off, and that decision was made that day. Our city attorney, Sarah Griffin, we were blessed to have her there with us, and we walked and talked through it, and it wasn't even an option, so it was an easy decision. And now we're just finalizing, we're doing the temporary extension again while we work out all the final particulars, the payroll being under them and all that stuff. Their payroll, their benefits will be at least what they are now, if not potentially better. So they will be, for all practical purposes, USW employees, just like our people were Severn Trent employees before. But those costs or additional costs, that's what we're working on. But for the most part, what we're paying our people will be worked into the USW bill. So we'll be even there, and what other things they need to do because they have the licenses, that's what we're dealing with now. When we get that final contract back.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
thank you for the explanation, but the paper we have in front of us is for the extension.
A temporary extension, yes.
Correct. Everything you just described, we do not have any documents for. And so you just described changing our current makeup of the way Public Works operates. That is a good recommendation, but we would like to see it in paper to help us to be able to move that forward. But currently, you are the head of Public Works. You may not be the director with the official title, but you are over that. Can you help us to move forward, meaning giving us something in writing that allows us to be able to analyze all the things you have done in the last 2 years in reference to Public Works for the city, that will give us the information we need moving forward with entering back into the contract outside of the emergency contract with the USW. So you've been in charge of the helm for, again, let's say 2 years. Can you give us some documents that helps us move forward? Because we have, this extension is only extending things that's kind of going on, but we still are trying to get some clarity. So, I mean, I do think we need a temporary extension, but in this process, we want to come back from your department, which you're in charge of, showing us everything you talked about as an option, or showing us where we currently are. There's some concerns, we've always known that the city employees, except for Mr. Alexander, didn't have the license. We knew this. But that's why we moved to USW. So I'm saying in this progression of how we went from Severn Trent to in-house back to a contract, there should be some documentation that helps us to be able to make better decisions. And so even though we do need to approve this extension, I think we need you to get us some information from, with your public works hat, and you can give it to Mr. Corey, to provide to us at the next meeting.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Councilman Jones. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I move that we extend, USW contract.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that USW's contract be extended. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
I'm ready.
Councilman Jones, you made the motion.
How long have we been, going through this process of extending the contract, or you guys been on an emergency basis? If you get, answer that for me. How long have we been?
Let me look in our files real quick, but the original emergency contract, excuse me, sorry, let me approach the pitch. Our original emergency contract began back in,
2016.
yes, I'm gonna say March. It's March of 2016. So,
And when did the FEMA work behind Harvey and the tax day flood, when did that officially end?
probably about 3 months ago.
Okay, and somewhere, give or take around that time, we switched over to a non-emergency contract, am I right?
That's correct.
So we wanted an emergency contract during emergencies, and the work that you all did interfacing with FEMA, Judge Alexander, what have you, was critical to the city. We've been receiving incredible reimbursements behind it, but as soon as that literally ended, we switched to a non-emergency contract.
Yes, we did go into a non-emergency contract. It was a 120-day agreement.
Yeah, I remember the city council asked for that to be done. What day are we at in that 120 agreement? Because I know we wanted to move expeditiously because we like you guys, appreciate all the work that you do for us, but eventually, I think we would like to heal the cut instead of keeping the Band-Aid over it. So how far are we, Attorney Zett, in that 120 days, do you know?
Well, we're coming up against the end, that's why we're extending
that's
it
what
for
I'm saying.
60 days.
Correct.
That's the purpose of the temporary extension.
Oh, it was I knew the answer to the question, but so how long are we extending this contract?
So just for clarification, there has been a new service agreement provided from our attorney to Attorney Zach's office. That
Yeah,
was this morning.
yesterday or, no, this morning, I
This
think,
morning,
yeah.
that's correct. So that was this morning. So there's a review and approval process. It's probably gonna go back and forth with comments, for a couple of days. There are quite a few line items of services that we do provide that I do recommend that everyone looks at, because a lot of the services that y'all have been discussing are services that we also provide underneath the full contract for the city. So there is gonna be a transitional period. Normally that takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days. That's why the extension is crucial at this point, is to extend the current contract.
Council Randall.
So the extension is for 90 days, correct? 60 days. 60 days. So between today and the 60 days, can we have a workshop where we go through these line items and discuss them and discuss the necessities as to why or what exactly they are, so we can actually have those, or you can do a presentation, something to where we know what these line items are, and so we can adequately know where we're appropriating city funds.
Yes, sir, absolutely. I recommend doing that.
At the next meeting would be appropriate, yes?
Okay. Yes.
Councilman Rhodes.
Sooner the better.
Absolutely.
So so we're made the motion, second the motion for the temporary agreement. The attorney just said we received the documents. I think we're well within our, kind of passing our 120 days. And my unreadiness or concern is that the outlining things that from our public works department should be communicating with USW at a level which there may be or may not have been some breakdown. Have you identified those things, and is there a document, summary document, that will allow us to be able to look at those things? Because This is not, you know, TCQ, that stuff happens more than once, that happens regularly. But then, you know, we had some reporting issues kind of at the beginning of the year that, from between the city and something reporting to the state. And so, is there a document that says like every 6 months you need to report this, and then which the Public Works Department for the city of Prairie should be either we should have someone designated to do that, or, because again, part of the proposal is if we're gonna put together, bringing in your company or increasing, you know, the services with your company, if the city, supposedly, we were supposed to be doing this certain amount of work, and your
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
this is 3 years. 3 years.
No, actually, it's been going on a lot longer than 3 years, but we're taking care of it now, thank goodness. But this was brought to you because the contract was being extended, and that's why this is in front of you, gentlemen. We're aware it's being extended. The new one is between the lawyers. That's the most we can do. Executive session is next. The city council will adjourn into closed session pursuant to Texas Governmental Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding administrative matters, which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act.